Speaking of names you might not have expected to come back to the NFL as quickly as they have, I think Pete Carroll is on top of that list. He takes the job with the Raiders. And then look who else is now joining him in Las Vegas. Pete Carroll adding Chip Kelly as his offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly, who left UCLA's head coaching job to become Ohio State's offensive coordinator. They win a national championship. Chip Kelly's bringing his services back to the NFL. Larry, get your protein shakes ready for the Chip Kelly era in Las Vegas.
One of the worst hires of all time. What are the Raiders doing?
Here's the thing. As an offensive coordinator, I don't know what he is in the NFL. As a head coach, he was a flippin' disaster. The only thing Chip Kelly did well was the PR work around Colin Kaepernick's taking a knee. That's the only aspect that he did well. Chip Kelly was good about how he handled all of that. The rest of it was a mess.
Yeah, and the only thing that he did was like, hey, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with this. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool.
He stayed out of the conversation. He did.
I'm cool. Yeah, it's cool. I'm cool. It's cool. It's all right. It's all right. It's cool. It's cool. I mean, he didn't do shit. I mean, come on. Chip Kelly is one of the most overrated coaches of all time. There is no innovation. He's calling mediocre to poor plays quickly. I mean, that's your innovation.
Oh, hey, here's the thing. Wait a minute. Larry, I'm not going to allow you to rewrite the total Chip Kelly history because you didn't like what he did with the 49ers. For a minute in time there, Chip Kelly was among the most innovative, creative, embracing a level of football tempo that no one else embraced when he was at Oregon. That's what got him hired in Philadelphia. Chip Kelly in Philadelphia looked like he was onto something there for a heartbeat. Didn't last very long, but Chip Kelly was a little bit better.
What's his innovation?
His career. Chip Kelly started running football plays faster than anyone had ever imagined it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But the plays were terrible. I mean, his plays were bad. I watched him with the 49ers. His plays were bad.
Right, I'm talking about
and here's why it's such a terrible hire. It's a terrible hire because the Ohio State Buckeyes are not a product of great play calling. The Ohio State Buckeyes, they have two running backs that are going to go in the second round of the draft. They have 3 wide receivers that are going to go in the top 10 picks of the draft. They have 3 offensive linemen that are going to be picked. But
Larry, that's also every Ohio State team ever. So like they win the national championship every year. They always have that amount of talent in Columbus.
No, they don't. They don't always have what they have this year. They don't always have 2 NFL running backs who are graduating. They had Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. They have Emeka Egbuka. They are about talent. They're not about. I didn't even see any creativity offensively. I really didn't. I don't think they were. They have the best talent in all of college football. They couldn't even get him off in the last 3 or 4 games outside of once. I mean, Jeremiah Smith had 1 game in the playoffs that was awesome, and he had 3 games where he was quiet. He's like the most dominating receiver, freshman receiver maybe we've ever seen. He basically didn't do a whole lot. Chip Kelly had just awesome weapons, and he just, now he's going to go to the Raiders. They have no quarterback. Watch how bad the Raiders are going to be. The Raiders are going to be bad. The Raiders' offense is going to be bad. Chip Kelly's going to get fired. Chip Kelly's not a good football coach. He talks a bunch of nonsense. He had all kinds of ridiculous ideas that NFL players are not going to go for. They're not going for blood tests and all kinds of crazy weigh-ins. And he wanted these guys. He wanted these guys to just basically submit to any kind of testing so he could determine their. All kinds of blood work, and it was like
you wanted to know if everyone's electrolytes were good, Larry. He's monitoring protein samples.
Chip Kelly's so overrated. So overrated. One of the most overrated coaches I think I've ever seen in my life. He's only done well in a college setting when he has an championship.
He won a national championship as a head coach. He did.
He's only won one. He's only wins in college football when he has an overwhelming stack deck. That's it.
But we agree.
It's the only time.
That's
He
how
doesn't. That you don't have that in the NFL. You don't have an overwhelming stack deck. You're going to have to actually call plays that work. And I saw his. You're talking about a guy who did the pregame and postgame during the Chip Kelly era. I talked to him before and after every game. He never had anything to say.
No, he's not.
And when they lost games, he just broke into this rapid fire. Almost like a comedian. He was talking so fast. He is just a fast talking nothing. I mean, he is nothing. There ain't nothing there. The plays that he calls are just so high school Harry calls. He's not a big time offensive coordinator. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the Raiders wanted to go in this direction. And I think it's going to fail miserably. I don't see innovation. I see a guy who played a pretty fast pace, but even so, there's right and wrong times to play pace. He just played it, just period. We're just playing fast. Well, but wait a second. What about when you want to slow it down? There is no slowdown. You just play fast. You just go fast.
He also invented the fake cramp on your defensive lineman to stop the other team from playing too fast. It was also a Chip Kelly innovation. Wow. So,
but seriously, I would say, is it innovative to play fast? Then is it innovative to play slow? If you only play one tempo, are you being innovative, or are you just playing at a tempo you want to play at?
At the time he invented the play faster than everyone else, it was regarded as innovative.
But if it was innovative, wouldn't people have copied it and succeeded with it?
Well, they have in many ways. Football's played it more plays or more snaps than before Chip Kelly started coaching at Oregon. You're seeing more offensive plays getting called, I think, all over the place. Chip left his fingerprints on how the game was played a little bit. And I'll say this about the Raiders.
But who's copied it? Is anybody copied Chip Kelly? No. Chip Kelly has what you're talking? You're saying he won a national championship. You're talking about at Oregon?
Yes.
Okay, what year was that?
It was like the first year they went to the CBC, whatever the playoffs were that year.
What year do you think that was?
Oh, it was it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, if the guy won a national championship a long time ago, then how come he's not so highly coveted until today?
He won a national championship this year, too, as an offensive coordinator. I just think as an offensive
with
mind,
the most talented team in America.
Larry, every team that's going to win has the talent. Like we just talked about clapping hard, Nick Soren.
This was an unbelievable.
It's always talent for everyone. You can't say talent matters over here, but doesn't matter over there.
I know, but I mean, it's like saying that the Detroit Lions are winning because of Dan Campbell. No, they're not. They're winning because of Brad Holmes. They're winning because of talent. Chip Kelly, from what I've been told from people who know him really, really well, is not a very good recruiter either, as far as, he's not a guy who...
Oregon never did win a national championship, did they?
No, they lost to Auburn. I was going to say they lost to Cam Newton.
I'm sorry. Oregon has not won a national championship.
But I mean, even so, when they contended for a national championship, it was so long ago. If he really were... My point is just this. If Chip Kelly really were innovative, he would have been copied by now. He hasn't been. If he really were innovative, he would have had high-profile jobs. He's had to backslide and take what he could get. I don't know. I think he's overrated. I think he's a guy who talks so fast after he loses. I think he has so little presence in front of. I mean, the guys may like him, but
he's not much of a personality. He hated dealing with alumni as a head coach. That's kind of why he left Oregon. It's why he left UCLA.
But he can only win in college because that's the only place where you can have that kind of personnel advantage.
Chip Kelly is you're automatically going to win with a great offense hire, but we'll see. We'll see how he innovates. And I tell you right now, the Raiders with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly sound like they got more credibility sitting in their coaching room than they've had in years. So I actually think the Raiders couple of hires And the Chip Kelly hire is interesting. I'll give it that much. I will give it that much. We'll see what happens. It's
well, let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about this for a second. So the Raiders decided that they wanted to have a veteran defensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why the hell wouldn't you hire Steve Spagnuolo? He interviewed for head coaching jobs. He was available in this coaching cycle. Why wouldn't you go hire Spags? Why would you hire Pete Carroll, who's been done for 3 years, instead of Spags, who is in your division beating you right now and is probably the cutting-edge defensive coordinator in the sport? If you're going to hire an old defensive guy, hire Spags. They didn't. They hired Pete Carroll. So I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get Spags. Maybe they offered the job to Spags. Or maybe they're just not that good at this and they didn't offer the job to Spags. But Spags was out there and interviewed. It wasn't like, he wasn't available. No, he was available. And he is available. And he did interview for some jobs. He just didn't get any. So I don't understand that.
You know what he is? I mean, it's kind of like Eric Bieniemy 2.0, right? Remember when Eric Bieniemy was Andy Reid's right-hand man and everyone said this is going to be, a future head coach for sure? That hasn't happened at all.
That's another baffling one. I mean, he got hired this weekend too, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Eric Bieniemy's only thing about Eric Bieniemy is that when you're Andy Reid's offensive coordinator, you don't get to call the plays. So what are you? You're like an offensive guy in the room, but he's calling the plays. I mean, that's a big part of being an offensive coordinator is like, hey, what kind of plays are you going to call and who, sequence and, how are you going to do it? And it's like when you work for Reid, he's that guy. It's like working for Shanahan.
Well, and Steve Spagnuolo, he has worn the crown before, and he did not wear it well. Steve Spagnuolo was the head coach of the Rams from 2009 through 2011, and he got to the New York Giants in 2017, where he went, I believe, interim head coach for a minute there. But Spagnuolo as a head coach in the NFL is 11-41.
Yeah. But, I mean, what was Pete Carroll after his first go-arounds with the Jets and Patriots? He wasn't very good bad either.
Right. And
yeah.
Steve,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what was Belichick, before he got to New England? Didn't he coach in Cleveland and struggled? So, I mean, it's just, some of these guys, it takes some time. But I personally think that if you're going to go veteran defensive coach and Steve Spagnuolo's out there, God, man, you got to hire him. That's the guy to hire.
You'd think so, but Pete Carroll probably has more energy than you and I do at 20 years older than us. Pete Carroll is a guy that I think walks into a room and Mark Davis, is probably blown away. But I don't know if Steve Spagnuolo is blowing anybody away. Clearly not, or maybe he's just saying it'd be silly to walk away from something that is, historic that is happening right now. So he doesn't want to go anywhere. The money's right. He likes barbecue. I don't know.
I don't know what the deal is, but I'll say this. If I owned an NFL team, I would find out because Spagnuolo is that good of a coach.
Well, Vic Fangio and Spagnuolo are probably going to determine what happens on Sunday more than the head coaches in the game. This is going to be a masterclass defensive coordinator battle coming up in this Super Bowl on Sunday.